The alien ship hung in space above Earth like a silver jewel. Inside, Ambassador Zekthor stared at the data scrolling across his screen. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence as he tried to make sense of what he was reading. The planet below was classified as a Class 12 death world, the most dangerous rating in the entire galactic database. Zekthor had lived for 300 years and served on the Galactic Council for half that time. He had seen many worlds, met countless species, but he had never encountered anything like Earth. The planet's gravity was almost twice what most civilized worlds considered normal. The atmosphere contained oxygen at levels that would corrode starship hulls. Violent storms raged across the surface with winds that could tear buildings apart. The ground itself moved and shook, splitting open without warning. But that was not the worst part. The worst part was the life. Earth was covered in creatures that killed and ate each other, massive predators with teeth like knives, tiny organisms that could not be seen but could kill within hours, plants that produced poison. Even the oceans were full of monsters with enough strength to crush metal. No intelligent species should have been able to evolve on such a world. It was impossible. Yet the impossible had happened. The door to his chamber opened, and his assistant Relthar entered. The younger alien's skin changed from blue to worried purple. "Ambassador, the humans have arrived. They are waiting in the council chamber." Zekthor rose from his seat and smoothed his ceremonial robes. "Very well. Let us meet these Deathworlders." The council chamber was a massive sphere where representatives from 40 different species gathered. Most of them had already taken their positions, floating in their designated spaces or seated on platforms adjusted to their needs. Zekthor moved to his position and looked toward the entrance. 2 humans walked into the chamber. They moved with a confidence that seemed out of place for a species so new to galactic civilization. The male was tall with short dark hair and wore a dark blue uniform. The female had lighter hair pulled back and wore similar clothing. Both of them looked around the chamber with open curiosity rather than fear. "I am Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth Defense Force," the male said in clear galactic standard. "This is Lisa Henderson, our diplomatic officer. We come in peace and friendship." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Several species had translation issues with human speech patterns. The sounds humans made were harsh and sharp compared to most galactic languages. Zekthor activated his speaker. "Welcome to the Galactic Council. I am Ambassador Zekthor. We have reviewed your application to join our community. However, we have concerns about your world and your species." Jake nodded slowly. "We understand. Earth is a difficult planet. We know that." "Difficult." A new voice cut across the chamber. Commander Vexcal of the Krellian Dominion moved forward. The Krellian was large and covered in thick armor plating. His species had conquered 17 worlds in the past century. "Your world is a nightmare. Species from such places are usually too scattered and primitive to pose any real threat or offer any real value." Lisa stepped forward. "With respect, Commander, we have overcome those challenges. Humanity has unified. We have built a civilization that spans our entire planet and has begun expanding into our solar system. We have much to offer the galactic community." Vexcal made a sound like grinding metal, which the translator identified as laughter. "You have crude rockets and basic fusion power. You fight wars among yourselves over resources and territory. You are savages who learn to use tools." Jake's jaw tightened, but his voice remained calm. "We fight wars because our world taught us how. Earth does not forgive weakness. Every day on our planet is a battle for survival. That struggle made us strong." "Strong?" Vexcal moved closer to the humans. Even floating in zero gravity, he was intimidating. "Your bones are fragile. Your skin offers no protection. You need constant food and water. You die from the smallest infections. What strength is this?" Zekthor was about to intervene when Lisa spoke again. Her voice was different now, harder. "Our bones are dense enough to support twice the gravity you're used to. Our skin heals from wounds that would be permanent for most species. We can survive for weeks without food and days without water. We have redundant organ systems. We can adapt to environments that would kill most life in the galaxy. That is our strength." The chamber fell silent. Zekthor checked his medical scanner data from the human delegation. She was right. Human biology was incredibly robust. Their healing factor alone was remarkable. They had backup systems for critical functions. Even their psychological profiles showed an unusual ability to endure stress and trauma. Vexcal seemed unimpressed. "You survived your own world. Congratulations. But that means nothing in the larger galaxy. The Krellian Dominion has conquered species far more advanced than yours. Your soul system is rich in resources that we need. I propose that the Council grant the Dominion rights to claim it." Jake took a step forward. Despite being smaller than the Krellian commander, he did not back down. "I would advise against that course of action, strongly." "Is that a threat, human?" Vexcal's armor plates shifted, a sign of aggression among his people. "It is a warning," Jake said. "We did not survive Earth by being weak. We survived by being adaptable, by working together, and by never giving up no matter how bad things got. Every human alive today is descended from people who faced extinction and refused to die. That is in our blood, in our culture, in everything we are." Lisa pulled up a holographic display. "This is our history. Wars that lasted years, plagues that killed millions but we survived. Natural disasters that destroyed entire regions, but we rebuilt. We fought our own planet every single day for hundreds of thousands of years. And we won." The images showed human cities rebuilt after being leveled. Humans surviving in frozen wastelands and burning deserts. Humans diving deep into crushing ocean depths and climbing mountains where the air was too thin to breathe. Humans treating diseases, fighting fires, rescuing each other from disasters again and again. Zekthor felt something he had not experienced in a long time. Fear. Not of human technology, which was indeed primitive, but fear of what they represented. A species that refused to quit. A species that treated impossible challenges as mere problems to solve. Vexcal dismissed the display with a wave. "Primitive struggles. The Krellian Dominion will enter your system within 1 month. You will surrender, or you will be destroyed. The Council cannot protect you. Non-interference laws prevent them from acting." Jake and Lisa looked at each other. Some unspoken communication passed between them. Then Jake turned back to the chamber. "Then I suppose we will see you in a month, Commander. I hope you bring enough ships." "Enough ships?" Vexcal laughed again. "I will bring 200 warships, more than enough to crush your primitive defenses." 200, Jake repeated softly. He looked at Lisa again. "Make a note. They are bringing 200 ships." 3 weeks and 2 days after the council meeting, the Krellian armada dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Neptune. 200 warships appeared in perfect formation, each one bristling with weapons that could crack a planet's crust. On the command ship, Fleet Commander Daxmore stood before his tactical display and smiled. This would be the easiest conquest in Dominion history. "Send the surrender demand," he ordered. "Standard terms, complete submission or complete destruction." The communications officer worked quickly. Within minutes, the message was transmitted across all human frequencies in Galactic Standard. "Attention, primitive species of Sol 3. This system now belongs to the Krellian Dominion. Power down your weapons and prepare for occupation. You have 1 standard hour to comply." The bridge crew waited. Daxmore expected immediate capitulation. Primitive species always surrendered when faced with superior force. It was the logical choice, the only choice. The response came exactly 60 seconds later. A single word transmitted in perfect galactic standard from multiple locations throughout the Sol system. The voice was calm and absolutely certain. No. Daxmore blinked. What? Sir, the humans have refused, his communications officer said unnecessarily. We are detecting power surges throughout their system. Multiple facilities are coming online. Show me. The tactical display lit up with new contacts. What the Krellians had thought were simple communication satellites suddenly revealed themselves as weapons platforms. Stations in orbit around every major planet in the system activated energy shields and powered up guns. Small vessels, hundreds of them, emerged from hiding spots in the asteroid belt and behind moons. This cannot be right, Daxmore said. They were supposed to be primitive. Where did all this come from? His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Torvin, studied the scans. Sir, these ships are crude. Look at the design. They appear to be built from simple metals and ceramics. No energy shielding, minimal automation. They should not pose a threat to our fleet. Then why do I feel uneasy? Daxmore muttered. He opened a communication channel. This is Fleet Commander Daxmore to human forces. You cannot win this fight. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. The response came from a different voice this time. Male, older, with an edge like sharpened steel. This is Admiral Kevin Chen, United Earth Defense Force. You have entered our territory without permission. You have threatened our people. You have one chance to leave. Take it. Daxmore laughed. I have 200 warships. What do you have, Admiral? Enough, Kevin replied. Then the channel closed. Sir, the human vessels are advancing, Torvin reported. They are moving toward our position at the outer system. All ships, combat formation Delta. Prepare to engage. Daxmore settled into his command chair. This would be over quickly. The first battle took place near Jupiter's orbit. 50 Krellian warships moved to intercept the human fleet. The humans had about 30 vessels, each one smaller than a Krellian cruiser. The enemy ships looked like flying bricks, all harsh angles and exposed machinery. They moved in loose formation, nothing like the precise military structure the Krellians used. Fire at will, Daxmore ordered. Energy beams lanced out across space. Dozens of shots hit human ships dead center. Daxmore waited for the explosions, for the quick victory. The human ships absorbed the hits. Their hulls glowed red-hot where the energy weapons struck, but they did not break apart. They did not even slow down. What? Daxmore leaned forward. How are they still intact? Sir, their armor is extremely thick, Torvin said, checking the scans. It appears to be layered, multiple types of metal and ceramic in a composite structure. Our weapons are having difficulty penetrating. The human ships opened fire. Their weapons were primitive railguns launching solid projectiles at incredible speeds. The rounds punched through Krellian shields like they were not even there. 3 Krellian ships exploded in the first volley. Evasive maneuvers! Daxmore shouted, but the Krellian ships were not designed for quick movement. They relied on shields and firepower. The human vessels, smaller and more agile, darted between them like fish in water. Their pilots performed maneuvers that should have killed them from the acceleration alone. A Krellian science officer gasped. Sir, those pilots are pulling 15 G-forces in those turns. No species should be able to survive that. They come from a high-gravity world, Torvin reminded him. Their bodies can take more stress. More human ships joined the battle. One of them, bearing the designation Defiance, charged straight at a Krellian battleship. Daxmore watched in disbelief as the human vessel rammed into his ship at full speed. Both ships were damaged, but while the Krellian battleship drifted helplessly, the human ship backed off and kept fighting. They are insane, someone whispered on the bridge. A human pilot's voice came over an open channel, speaking in their own language but translated by the Krellian computers. All units, target their shield generators. Ignore the main hulls. Take out their defenses first. The human tactics changed. Instead of trying to destroy Krellian ships outright, they focused on specific systems. Shield generators, weapon batteries, engines. It was surgical and brutal. The Krellians had more firepower, but the humans were faster, tougher, and more adaptable. Lieutenant Brandon Cole led a squadron of human fighters that wove through the Krellian formation. His voice stayed calm, even as he pulled maneuvers that would have torn apart any other pilot. "Red Squadron, form up on me. We are going for the command ship's sensor array." 6 small human fighters broke away from the main battle and accelerated toward Daxmore's flagship. Point defense guns tried to track them, but the human pilots moved unpredictably, never flying in straight lines. They reached the massive ship and unleashed their weapons at close range. The command ship's main sensor array exploded. Suddenly, Daxmore was blind to half the battlefield. "Get that fixed now!" he roared. "We are trying, sir," an engineer reported. "But we are also being boarded." "What?" A transport had attached itself to the command ship's hull. Cutting torches burned through the outer armor, something that should have taken hours but was happening in minutes. Then Krellian soldiers in the corridor near the breach point started screaming. The security feed showed what was happening. Human soldiers had entered the ship. They wore armored suits and carried automatic weapons that fired metal bullets. But it was not their equipment that made the Krellian soldiers panic. It was how they moved. The humans did not advance cautiously like proper soldiers. They ran through the corridors at full speed, shooting anything that moved. When their guns ran out of ammunition, they pulled out knives and attacked hand to hand. One human, a female with sergeant markings named Nicole Parker, killed 3 Krellian soldiers with her bare hands before picking up her weapon again. "Fall back," the Krellian security commander ordered. "Seal the bulkheads." But the humans had cutting tools. They burned through sealed doors. They climbed through ventilation shafts. They hunted the Krellian defenders through the ship like predators chasing prey. Daxmore watched the security feeds in horror. His soldiers were bigger and stronger than humans. They wore better armor and had superior training. But the humans never stopped. Even when wounded, they kept fighting. Even when outnumbered, they attacked rather than defended. "Sir, we have lost contact with the boarding party's position," Torvin said. "I think they have reached the engineering section." Explosions rocked the command ship. The humans had sabotaged the power systems. Lights flickered across the bridge. "All ships, retreat to the outer system," Daxmore ordered. He hated saying it, but he had no choice. "We need to regroup and reassess." The Krellian fleet pulled back, leaving behind 15 destroyed ships and 3 more that had been captured intact. The human fleet did not pursue. They held their position near Jupiter, repairing damage and recovering their wounded. The message arrived at Earth's military command center at 0400 hours. Admiral Kevin Chen was still awake, studying tactical reports, when his aide rushed in with a data pad. Her face was pale. "Sir, Mars colony has been hit. Orbital bombardment. The Krellians used plasma weapons on the civilian sections." Kevin felt something cold settle in his chest. "Casualties? 15,000 dead. Another 8,000 wounded. The medical facilities are overwhelmed." Kevin closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them again, they were hard as stone. "Get me Captain Morrison. Get me every ship commander we have. And someone find Dr. Rodriguez. Tell her I need whatever weapons she has been working on. We are done playing defense." 30 minutes later, the command center was full of officers. Jake Morrison stood near the holographic display showing the Sol system. His expression matched Kevin's. Lisa Henderson was there too, her diplomatic training barely containing her rage. "They attacked civilians," Jake said quietly. "They bombed homes and schools and hospitals." "Yes," Kevin replied. "And now they are going to learn what happens when you make humans angry. Dr. Rodriguez, what do you have for me?" Amy Rodriguez stepped forward. She was young, barely 30, but she had been leading the human reverse engineering project since first contact. She had dark circles under her eyes from weeks of constant work. "Admiral, we have captured 3 Krellian ships intact. I have been studying their systems." She pulled up a schematic. "Their technology is more advanced than ours, but it has a critical weakness. Everything runs through a centralized power distribution network. If you damage the main conduits in the right places, the entire ship loses power. Can we exploit that? Yes, but we need to get close. Our weapons do not have the precision for long-range targeting." Amy switched the display to show a new weapon design. "I have also been working on this. We call it a piercing torpedo. It is a kinetic weapon with a shaped charge warhead, designed specifically to punch through Krellian shields and damage those power conduits." Lieutenant Brandon Cole studied the design. "How many do we have?" "We finished the first production run this morning. 500 torpedoes. More are being manufactured as we speak." Kevin nodded slowly. "Good. We are going to use them. Here is the plan. We lure the Krellian fleet into the asteroid belt. We have been mining that area for decades. We know every rock, every drift pattern. They do not. We use the asteroids as cover and as weapons. Then we hit them with everything we have." "They outnumber us 3-1, someone pointed out. "They outnumbered us 5-1 at Jupiter," Jake said. "We still won that fight. We can win this one too." Over the next 48 hours, humanity prepared for the largest space battle in their history. Every available ship was recalled and refitted. The new torpedoes were distributed among the fleet. Civilian vessels were armed with basic weapons and used as support craft. The entire industrial capacity of Earth and its colonies focused on one goal: survival. The Krellian fleet advanced slowly, scanning for traps. Daxmore had learned caution from the first battle. He kept his ships in tight formation and sent scouts ahead. When he reached the asteroid belt, he hesitated. "This is an ideal ambush location," Torvin observed. "I know." Daxmore studied the sensor readings. "But we have no choice. The human ships retreated into the belt. If we want to reach Earth, we have to go through." The Krellian fleet entered the asteroid field in a defensive formation. Their shields were up and their weapons were ready. For the first hour, nothing happened. The ships moved carefully between the massive rocks, maintaining formation. Then the asteroids started moving. "Sir, we are detecting propulsion signatures," a sensor operator reported. "Multiple asteroids are under power. They are converging on our position." Daxmore swore in his native language. "The humans put engines on the asteroids. All ships, evasive action." But in the tight confines of the asteroid field, there was nowhere to go. Massive rocks, each one weighing millions of tons, accelerated toward the Krellian fleet. Some were destroyed by weapons fire, but others got through. When an asteroid hit a shield at high speed, even Krellian technology could not hold. 3 ships were destroyed in the first wave. 5 more were damaged. Then the human fleet appeared. They came from every direction at once, emerging from behind asteroids where they had been hiding. Captain Jake Morrison led the main assault group, his ship Roosevelt charging straight at the Krellian command vessel. "All ships, fire torpedoes," Jake ordered. The new weapons launched from human ships by the dozens. They were fast, faster than the Krellians expected. The shaped charge warheads punched through shields and buried themselves deep in Krellian hulls before exploding. The results were devastating. A Krellian battleship's lights flickered and died as its power grid collapsed. Another ship's weapons went offline. A third lost engine control and drifted helplessly into an asteroid. "Focus fire on the damaged ships," Admiral Kevin Chen commanded from his flagship. "Do not let them recover." Human ships swarmed the crippled Krellian vessels. At close range, their railguns and missiles overwhelmed the alien defenses. One by one, Krellian ships died. But the Dominion fleet was not defeated yet. Daxmore rallied his remaining ships and formed a defensive sphere. His vessels concentrated their fire, forcing the humans to keep their distance. "We need to break their formation," Jake said over the command channel. Any ideas? I have one, Sergeant Nicole Parker replied. She was aboard a boarding craft with 50 other Marines. Get us close to their command ship. We will break it from the inside. That is suicide, someone protested. Maybe, Nicole said, but we are going anyway. 5 boarding craft, small and fast, accelerated toward the Krellian command ship. Point defense guns tracked them, destroying 2 before they could reach their target. But 3 got through, attaching to the hull with magnetic clamps. Cutting torches burned through armor. Human Marines poured into the Krellian vessel. This time, the enemy was ready for them. Krellian soldiers had set up defensive positions with heavy weapons. The firefight was brutal. Marines died in the first seconds as plasma bolts tore through their armor. But the survivors kept advancing. Nicole led her squad through a maintenance shaft, avoiding the main corridors where the Krellians expected them. Command, this is Parker. We are moving toward the bridge. Encountering heavy resistance, but we are making progress. On the bridge of the Krellian command ship, Daxmore watched his security teams fail to stop the humans. These invaders fought with a savagery that terrified his soldiers. They used tactics that no civilized species would consider, crawling through damaged systems, setting ambushes in dark corners, refusing to retreat even when surrounded. Sir, they have breached the engineering level, Torvin reported. If they reach the main reactor, they could overload it. Send every available soldier. Stop them. But Nicole's team had already reached the engineering section, not to overload the reactor, but to sabotage the power distribution network. Amy Rodriguez had given them detailed instructions on exactly what to damage. The Marines placed explosive charges on key conduits and retreated. The explosions were small, but they were precisely placed. The Krellian command ship shuddered as power failures cascaded through its systems. Lights died. Shields collapsed. Weapons went offline. Now, Jake shouted. All ships, focus on the command vessel. The human fleet converged on the crippled flagship. Torpedoes and railgun rounds hammered into its hull. Without shields or working weapons, the massive ship could not defend itself. Abandon ship, Daxmore ordered. His voice was hollow. All crew to the escape pods. The Krellian command vessel broke apart under the sustained bombardment. Escape pods scattered in every direction. The rest of the Krellian fleet, seeing their commander's ship destroyed, lost their will to fight. Some ships tried to flee, others surrendered. A few kept fighting and were destroyed. The battle lasted 9 hours. When it ended, the Krellian invasion force was finished. Of the 200 ships that had entered the Sol system, only 1 remained intact. The others were destroyed, captured, or disabled beyond repair. Admiral Kevin Chen broadcast a message to the surviving Krellians. You are defeated. We will allow 1 ship to leave and return to your territory. Tell your people what happened here. Tell them that humans do not start fights, but we finish them. On the crippled command vessel, now surrounded by human ships, Daxmore sat in his command chair and stared at nothing. He had brought the might of the Krellian dominion to conquer a primitive world. Instead, he had been destroyed by them. Jake Morrison came aboard the captured ship with a security team. He found Daxmore on the bridge, alone except for a few wounded crew members. "Why did you attack Mars Colony?" Jake asked. "Why kill civilians?" Daxmore looked at him with tired eyes. "To break your spirit. To make you surrender." "You do not understand humans at all," Jake said. "When you hurt us, we do not break. We get angry. And when we get angry, we do not stop until the threat is eliminated." He paused. "You are lucky that Admiral Chen is a better person than you are. We could kill every one of you, but we will not. We will send you home with a message." "What message?" "That humans are from Earth. We survived on a planet that tried to kill us every single day. We learned to build, to adapt, to overcome anything, and we will defend our home against anyone who threatens it." Jake leaned closer. Go back to your dominion. Tell them what happened here. Tell them to never come back. The single surviving Krellian ship limped out of the Sol system 3 days later. Carved into its hull in massive letters that could be seen from orbit were the words, "We are from Earth. Do not return." The emergency session of the Galactic Council was the most attended meeting in 3 centuries. Representatives from every member species crowded into the chamber. Additional observers floated in designated zones. Everyone wanted to hear the testimony firsthand. Ambassador Zekthor called the session to order. His 4 eyes swept across the assembled representatives, seeing fear and confusion on faces that had never shown such emotions before. "We are here to discuss the recent conflict in the Sol system. Commander Vexcal of the Krellian Dominion has requested permission to address the council." Vexcal moved to the center of the chamber. The proud warrior who had dismissed humanity weeks ago now looked diminished. His armor plating was scarred and his movements were slow. "Honored council members, I must report a catastrophic military defeat. The Krellian invasion force has been destroyed. Of 200 warships, only 1 returned. Fleet Commander Daxmore is dead. Over 40,000 Krellian soldiers were killed or captured." Shocked silence filled the chamber. Then everyone started talking at once. Representatives demanded explanations, details, proof. Zekthor had to activate the chamber's sound dampeners to restore order. "How is this possible?" demanded the representative from the Valerian Empire. "The Krellians have conquered 17 worlds. How could primitives defeat them?" "Because they are not primitive," Vexcal said quietly. "We made that mistake. A terrible mistake." Captain Jake Morrison and Lisa Henderson entered the chamber. They had been invited to present humanity's side of the story. Jake wore his uniform with the new medals that Earth's government had awarded him. Lisa carried a data storage device containing battle recordings and tactical analysis. "The council has questions for you," Zekthor said to the humans. "Many questions." "We will answer what we can," Jake replied. A council member from the Tethran Collective spoke first. "You defeated a major military power within weeks. Your technology is generations behind ours. How did you accomplish this?" Lisa activated the holographic display. Images of Earth filled the chamber. Hurricanes larger than some council members' home continents. Earthquakes that split the ground open. Volcanoes that turned day into night with ash clouds. Predators with claws and teeth designed to kill. "This is our world," Lisa said. "Every human is born into this. We do not have the luxury of gentle environments or safe climates. Earth teaches every child that the universe does not care if you live or die. You survive by being tough, by being smart, by never giving up." Jake continued. "Your ships are designed for efficiency and elegance. Our ships are designed to survive damage. Your soldiers train for precision combat. Our soldiers train to keep fighting even when wounded. Your species developed in peace. We developed in constant struggle." Dr. Amy Rodriguez appeared via holographic link from Earth. She had been invited to explain the technical aspects of the battle. "The Krellian technology is superior to ours in almost every way, but it has weaknesses that we could exploit. Their centralized power systems, their reliance on automation, their standardized tactics. We adapted to counter these. That is what Deathworlders do. We adapt." A representative from a species that lived on low-gravity worlds asked, "Your soldiers endured forces that would kill most of us. How?" "Earth's gravity is 1.8 times galactic standard," Amy explained. "Every human grows up under that pressure. Our bones are dense, our muscles are strong, our hearts pump harder. What kills you is normal for us." More questions came. How did human ships survive direct hits? Why did human soldiers not retreat when outnumbered? How did humans predict Krellian tactics so effectively? Jake answered each question carefully. He explained how human ships used layered armor based on designs for ocean submarines that could dive to crushing depths. How human soldiers were trained to fight through pain and fear because Earth's history was full of battles where retreat meant death. How human tactical thinking came from thousands of years of warfare against each other, learning every trick and counter-trick possible. As he spoke, Zekthor watched the council members' reactions. Fear was growing. These species had built their civilizations on stable worlds with predictable conditions. They had never faced the kind of adversity that humans considered normal, and now they were realizing that humanity's very existence represented something unprecedented in the galaxy. "What do humans want?" asked the representative from the Corinthian Alliance. "You have proven your strength. What are your intentions toward the galactic community?" Lisa stepped forward to answer. "We want what we have always wanted, to be left alone to live our lives, to explore the galaxy, to make friends and trade partners, to learn from other species and share what we know." She paused. "But we will not be conquered. We will not be enslaved. We will not allow anyone to threaten our home or our people. That is not negotiable." "And if someone threatens you again?" another representative asked. Jake's expression hardened. "Then they will learn the same lesson the Krellians did. We are from Earth. We do not lose." The council session was interrupted by an emergency alert. Zekthor's assistant rushed in with urgent news. "Ambassador, we are receiving distress calls from the Outer Rim colonies. The Zinthari swarm has changed course. They are moving toward the Sol system." The chamber erupted in panic. The Zinthari swarm was a hive-mind species that consumed everything in its path. Entire civilizations had been devoured by them. They had been gradually expanding through the Outer Rim for centuries, and no military force had ever stopped them. "How many ships?" someone asked. "Preliminary scans indicate millions of biomechanical vessels. The swarm is larger than any formation we have recorded before." Jake and Lisa looked at each other. Jake pulled out his communication device and contacted Earth. "Admiral Chen, we have a situation." Kevin's voice came through clearly. "I heard. The swarm is 3 days away from our outer defense perimeter. Can we evacuate? Where would we go, and how would we transport 7 billion people?" Kevin's tone was grim but steady. "No, we fight." Same as always. Zekthor activated his communication system. "Captain Morrison, the Galactic Council can provide military assistance. We cannot allow the swarm to gain a foothold in civilized space." "No offense, Ambassador, but your ships are not designed for this kind of fight," Jake said. "The swarm does not use shields or armor. They overwhelm through numbers. Our weapons are better suited for that. You cannot seriously believe you can defeat millions of swarm ships with your small fleet." Jake smiled grimly. "You thought we could not defeat 200 Krellian ships either. Trust me, Ambassador. We have been preparing for something like this since we realized the galaxy was full of threats. Stand back and watch. You are about to see what Deathworlders can really do." The council wanted to argue, but Jake and Lisa were already leaving. They had a ship to catch back to Earth. They had 3 days to prepare for the biggest battle in human history. As the humans departed, Vexcal approached Zekthor. "Ambassador, I must speak with you privately." In a quiet corner of the chamber, away from the chaos, Vexcal said, "I fought the humans. I saw what they can do. But the swarm is different. The swarm cannot be intimidated or outmaneuvered. It simply consumes everything." "Do you think the humans will lose?" Vexcal was quiet for a moment. 3 weeks ago, I would have said yes, without hesitation. But now? He looked toward where Jake and Lisa had exited. "Now I do not know. These Deathworlders are unlike anything I have ever encountered. They do not think like us. They do not fight like us. They see impossible situations and treat them as problems to solve. But can they defeat the swarm? I do not know," Vexcal admitted. "But I know this. I would not bet against them. They survived Earth. They defeated the Dominion. Perhaps they can do the impossible again. Zekthor nodded slowly. The Council is terrified of humanity now. They see humans as dangerous, unpredictable. Some want to quarantine the Sol system. Others want to establish military alliances. Everyone is afraid of what humans might do. They should be afraid, Vexcal said, but not of what humans might do to us. They should be afraid of what we might do that forces humans to respond. Because when you threaten a Deathworlder, when you back them into a corner, they do not surrender. They fight. And they do not stop fighting until the threat is eliminated. He paused. I learned that lesson at great cost. I hope the rest of the galaxy learns it without making the same mistake I did. Back on Earth, Admiral Kevin Chen stood in the command center and looked at the tactical display. 3 days until the swarm arrived. 3 days to prepare the biggest defense operation in human history. Around him, officers worked frantically to coordinate ships, weapons, and personnel. Amy Rodriguez entered the command center with a data pad. Admiral, I have been analyzing the swarm's biology. I think I found a weakness. Tell me. The swarm operates on quantum entanglement communication. Every ship is connected to the hive mind instantly across any distance. It is how they coordinate so effectively. Amy pulled up a complex diagram. But quantum entan, the Zinthari swarm entered the Sol system like a plague. Millions of biomechanical ships, each one a living weapon connected to the hive mind, poured through the outer edge of human space. They moved with perfect coordination, every vessel knowing exactly where every other vessel was positioned. No hesitation, no fear, only the drive to consume and expand. On an observation platform safely outside the system, Ambassador Zekthor and dozens of other Galactic Council representatives watched through their sensors. They had come despite the danger, needing to see what would happen. Most of them expected to witness humanity's extinction. The swarm mass is larger than our initial estimates, Zekthor's sensor officer reported. We are detecting over 3 million individual vessels. And the humans? Their fleet has taken up defensive positions throughout the inner system. Approximately 500 combat vessels plus thousands of support craft and weapons platforms. The numbers were impossible. 3 million against 500. It was not even a battle. It was an execution. But Zekthor remembered Jake Morrison's confidence. He remembered how the humans had defeated the Krellians against similar odds. He decided to wait and watch before writing humanity's obituary. The swarm approached Neptune's orbit and encountered the first human defenses. The asteroid belt had been transformed into a weapons platform. Thousands of asteroids, each equipped with engines and explosives, activated simultaneously. They did not try to destroy swarm ships. Instead, they created obstacles, forcing the swarm to maneuver around them. Interesting, Vexcal observed. He was also watching from the Council platform. They are slowing the swarm's advance, buying time. The swarm adapted quickly. Ships shifted formation, moving around the obstacles with fluid grace. But the asteroids kept coming, an endless stream of rocks that forced the swarm to spread out, to thin their formation. Then the human fleet engaged. Captain Jake Morrison commanded a battle group centered around the carrier Roosevelt. His ships did not charge forward to meet the swarm. Instead, they hung back and began broadcasting. Every human vessel activated powerful transmitters. They sent out signals across every frequency, pumping massive amounts of data into space. The signals were chaotic, random, meaningless. White noise mixed with human music, mathematical equations, historical records, comedy shows, educational programs, and millions of other pieces of information. Inside the swarm, something unexpected happened. The hive mind, which processed tactical data from millions of ships instantly, suddenly received billions of pieces of useless information. The quantum entanglement network that connected every swarm ship tried to process all of it. The swarm's perfect coordination faltered. Ships collided with each other. Formations broke apart. The hive mind, overwhelmed by the flood of data, struggled to filter out the noise and focus on actual tactical information. "It is working," Amy Rodriguez reported from her position on Earth. She monitored the swarm's communication network, watching it strain under the information overload. "The hive mind cannot handle this much random input. Keep broadcasting." Admiral Kevin Chen watched the tactical display as the swarm's advance slowed. But he knew this was only temporary. The hive mind would adapt eventually. They needed to press their advantage now. "All ships, begin attack pattern Delta," he ordered. "Target the larger vessels. Those are the relay nodes for the hive mind. Take them down." Human ships moved through the confused swarm like sharks through a school of fish. Their weapons, designed to fire solid projectiles at high speed, were perfect for this battle. They did not need to penetrate shields or overcome complex defenses. They just needed to hit flesh and metal and destroy. Lieutenant Brandon Cole led his fighter squadron into the heart of the swarm. His voice stayed calm as he guided his pilots through impossible maneuvers. "Red Squadron, target the big ones. Those ship-sized creatures with the heavy armor, those are command nodes." The human fighters wove through swarm ships, dodging biomechanical tentacles and organic weapons. When a swarm ship got too close, the pilots did not panic. They accelerated toward the threat, using their ships as battering rams if necessary. 2 fighters were destroyed, but they took down 6 swarm vessels each before they died. On Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, Sergeant Nicole Parker commanded a ground defense force. The swarm had attempted to land troops on the moon's surface, trying to establish a forward base. They found human soldiers waiting for them. The battle on Europa was brutal. The swarm creatures were strong and fast, adapted for combat. But they had never fought on a frozen moon with minimal atmosphere. The human soldiers, trained in environment suits and low-gravity combat, used the terrain against their enemies. Nicole led her squad across the ice plains, hunting swarm ground troops. When they found a cluster of enemy soldiers, they did not engage in extended firefights. They set explosive charges and destroyed the ice beneath the swarm troops, sending them plunging into the ocean below. "Command, this is Parker. Europa is secure. The swarm is retreating." "Good work, Sergeant," Admiral Chen replied. "Return to your ships. We need you in the main battle." The space battle raged for 6 days. The human fleet fought continuously, with crews working in shifts to maintain combat operations. They slept in their stations, ate while monitoring sensors, and kept fighting no matter how tired they became. Dr. Amy Rodriguez's plan to overload the hive mind was working, but the swarm was adapting. The hive consciousness learned to filter out the random data. Human ships had to constantly change their broadcast patterns, keeping the swarm off balance. On the 4th day of battle, Jake Morrison's ship was hit by a swarm biological weapon. The Roosevelt's hull was breached, and alien organisms began eating through the ship's systems. Jake ordered the affected sections sealed and vented into space. The ship survived, but it was badly damaged. "Captain, we should fall back for repairs," his first officer suggested. Jake looked at the tactical display. The human fleet was winning, but slowly. Every day they destroyed thousands of swarm ships, but the swarm kept coming, kept fighting. If they retreated now, the swarm would gain ground. "No," Jake said. "We hold position, reroute power from non-essential systems to weapons. We keep fighting." Admiral Kevin Chen made the same decision aboard his flagship. Every human commander made the same choice. They would hold. They would not retreat. Because behind them was Earth, and Earth did not have anywhere else to go. On the 6th day, Amy Rodriguez made a breakthrough. She had been studying captured swarm organisms, trying to understand the quantum entanglement network. She found something crucial. "Admiral, I can break the hive mind connection," she reported. "Not just disrupt it, actually break it. How? We send a feedback pulse through their network. Use their own quantum entanglement against them. It will cause a cascade failure in their communication system. Every swarm ship will be cut off from the hive mind. What happens to them then? I do not know. They might die. They might become independent. But they will not be coordinated anymore. Kevin did not hesitate. Do it. Amy activated the device she had built, using components from captured swarm ships and human quantum computers. It generated a pulse of energy that propagated through the quantum network the swarm used to communicate. In space, 3 million swarm ships suddenly stopped moving in perfect coordination. The hive mind, which had controlled every vessel simultaneously, shattered into millions of individual fragments. Some ships shut down completely, their biological components dying without the hive to sustain them. Others began moving independently, confused and directionless. The human fleet pressed their advantage. They swept through the disorganized swarm, destroying ships that could no longer coordinate their defense. Within hours, what had been an unstoppable force was reduced to scattered remnants. The swarm that remained tried to retreat, but human ships pursued them to the edge of the system. The message was clear. Sol's system was defended. The swarm would not return. When the battle ended, the Galactic Council observers were silent. They had watched humanity fight for 6 days straight without rest. They had seen human determination and human ingenuity overcome impossible odds. They had witnessed what Deathworlders could accomplish when their home was threatened. Zekthor opened a communication channel to Admiral Chen. On behalf of the Galactic Council, I congratulate you on your victory. The swarm has never been defeated before. You have accomplished something unprecedented. Kevin's face appeared on the screen. He looked exhausted, with dark circles under his eyes and new scars on his face. But his voice was strong. Thank you, Ambassador. But this was not unprecedented for us. Humanity has been defeating impossible odds since we first stood upright on Earth. This was just another day of survival. Over the next week, the Galactic Council convened to discuss humanity's place in the galaxy. The debate was intense. Some species wanted to isolate humanity, viewing them as too dangerous. Others wanted to form alliances, recognizing that humanity could defend against threats that the Council could not handle alone. In the end, the Council made a historic decision. Humanity was granted full membership with special status. No member species could engage in hostile action against humans without unanimous Council approval. The Sol system was declared a protected zone, but more importantly, humanity was recognized as the galaxy's defense force against existential threats. Several species immediately requested military alliances. The Krellian Dominion, humbled by their earlier defeat, offered reparations and asked for a peace treaty. The Council requested that humanity share their defensive technologies and tactical doctrines. Jake Morrison and Lisa Henderson attended the final Council session as Earth's official representatives. They listened as species after species praised humanity's courage and strength. When it was their turn to speak, Jake kept his words simple. We did not want to prove ourselves through war. We would have preferred to join the galactic community peacefully. But when we were threatened, we defended ourselves. That is what any species would do. But no other species has done it so effectively, Zekthor said. You have changed the galaxy's understanding of what is possible. Lisa stepped forward. Then let us change the galaxy in other ways too. Let us share our knowledge. Let us learn from you. Let us build something better together. She paused. But remember this lesson. Humanity will be your friend and ally. We will defend the galaxy against threats. But we will not be conquered. We will not be controlled. We will remain free. The Council voted unanimously to accept humanity's terms. For the first time in galactic history, a species from a death world was welcomed not despite their origins, but because of them. As Jake and Lisa returned to Earth, They looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the remnants of the Krellian fleet were telling stories about the humans who had defeated them. The Xanthari swarm's consciousness carried memories of the species that had broken their perfect coordination. Every civilization in the galaxy now knew about Earth and the humans who came from it. "Do you think we will have peace now?" Lisa asked. Jake considered the question. "I think we will have respect, and respect is a good foundation for peace." On Earth, Admiral Kevin Chen addressed the United Human Government. "We have fought 2 wars in 2 months. We have lost 30,000 people. Our ships are damaged. Our colonies need rebuilding, but we have won something more important than any battle. We have won our place in the galaxy." He paused and looked around the room at the leaders of Earth's nations. "Now comes the hard part. We showed the galaxy what we can do in war. Now we need to show them what we can achieve in peace. Because the real measure of humanity is not how we fight. It is what we choose to build when the fighting stops." Across the galaxy, a new saying emerged in dozens of languages. It spread from species to species, becoming common wisdom. The saying was simple but clear. Never underestimate Deathworlders. Never threaten their home. Never assume that because they are friendly, they are weak. Because the species that survived Earth learned a lesson that gentle worlds never taught: adapt or die, and humanity chose to adapt. Years later, human children born on colony worlds under alien suns would learn about the Krellian War and the Swarm Battle. They would study Earth's history and understand where they came from. They would know that their ancestors fought against a hostile planet for millions of years and won. They would carry that legacy forward as humanity expanded across the stars. And they would remember the most important lesson their homeworld taught them. Not about how to make war, but about why humanity had to become so good at it. Earth was brutal and unforgiving, but it was home. And humans would defend their home against anything, no matter the cost, because that is what survivors do. The galaxy had learned why going to war with Deathworlders was a terrible, horrible mistake. Now it would learn what Deathworlders could accomplish in peace. And that story was just beginning. Glement is delicate. If we can overload the system with too much information, we might be able to disrupt their coordination. How do we overload a hive mind? Amy smiled. It was not a nice smile. We give them more information than they can process. We flood their network with data, random signals, fake tactical information, anything and everything we can broadcast, and I know exactly how to do it. Kevin studied the plan she presented. It was insane. It might not work, but it was typically human, taking a disadvantage and turning it into a weapon. "Do it," he said. "We have 3 days. Make it happen." As Amy rushed off to begin preparations, Kevin looked at the display showing Earth, his home, 7 billion people who were counting on him to protect them. He thought about the Krellians who had assumed humans would be easy to defeat. He thought about the Galactic Council, who still did not truly understand what humanity was capable of. 3 days, he said quietly to himself. Then the swarm learns what every species eventually learns about humans. We do not quit. We do not surrender. And we do not lose. The war was over. Humanity had won. But the cost had been terrible. Nearly 30,000 dead. Dozens of ships destroyed. Mars' colony would take years to rebuild. As Jake stood in the observation deck of the Roosevelt, watching the stars, Lisa joined him. "Do you think they will leave us alone now?" she asked. "I do not know," Jake admitted. "But they will think twice before attacking us again. That is something." Far across the galaxy, news of the Krellian defeat was spreading. The mighty Dominion, conquerors of 17 worlds, had been crushed by a primitive species from a death world. Every civilization in the galactic community was suddenly very interested in humanity, and most of them were wondering the same thing. If the Krellians could not defeat these humans, who could? On Earth, Admiral Kevin Chen reviewed the battle reports. The humans had lost 8 ships and nearly 3,000 personnel. The Krellians had lost more, but they still had over 90% of their fleet intact. "They will come again," his second-in-command said. "In greater numbers." Kevin nodded. "I know. Send a message to Mars Colony and the outer stations. Tell them to evacuate all non-essential personnel. This is going to get worse before it gets better." Far away, on the edge of the solar system, Daxmore stared at his remaining fleet. He had expected an easy victory. Instead, he had encountered something he had never faced before. An enemy that would not break. An enemy that fought with a ferocity that seemed impossible. He remembered Jake Morrison's warning at the council. "You will find out exactly what Deathworlders can do when you threaten their home." Now he understood. But it was too late to turn back. The Dominion did not accept defeat. He would have to destroy these humans completely or die trying. Daxmore just hoped he had enough ships left to do it. Lisa nodded and made an entry on her datapad. "Noted. Should I also note that the commander believes this will be enough?" "Please do." Jake turned back to Vex Call. "Commander, I need you to understand something. Humans have been preparing for this moment since we first learned we were not alone in the universe. We knew that someone might see us as weak. Someone might try to take what is ours. We have prepared." Vexcal's amusement faded slightly. "Prepared with what? Your ships are barely capable of faster-than-light travel. Your weapons are chemical propulsion and nuclear fission. What could you possibly have that would threaten the Dominion?" Jake smiled, but it was not a friendly expression. It was the smile of someone who knew something you did not. "You will find out, Commander. In 1 month, you will find out exactly what Deathworlders can do when you threaten their home." The council session ended shortly after. Zekthor watched the humans leave, walking with the same confident stride they had entered with. He pulled up a communication link to the council archives and began searching through records of extinct species that had underestimated their opponents, species that had started wars they could not win. He had a terrible feeling that in 1 month he would be adding the Krellian Dominion to that list.